In this lesson, we'll be using boundary fill. After completing this lesson, you'll be able to use boundary fill to make a solid volume. For this next lesson, we're going to take a look at a new file called Gear Reduction Housing Boundary Fill. The boundary fill tool is a powerful tool that can be used in all sorts of applications. So we're just going to take a quick look at it to create some solid geometry similar to the way we created using our revolve feature. This file is a takeoff of the last one that we were working with, except for it has two surface bodies. These are surface extrudes that represent the OD of our bearing, as well as the specific OD that is increased 3 millimeters based on our housing thickness, as well as a back plane for our bearing. So what we want to do is we want to take a look at what boundary fill actually does and how we can use it to our advantage. So in this case, we're going to go to Create, Boundary Fill, and we need to select the tools. Now the tools in this case are going to be this plane. We're going to grab these two surfaces, as well as the back of this solid body. Once we do that, we need to select the cells. In this case, if we hover the cursor over this one, what we're doing is we're selecting this small cell region right here, and we can select this one as well. And we can either create a new body, we can join them together, we can create a new component, and we can also use the option to remove tools. But let's select both of those options and say OK and see what we get. So in this case, the back housing now contains that small lip that was created based on the housing back face, these two surfaces, and a plane. So it was able to use that information to create that solid geometry on the back side. So let's take a look at how we can add a bit more geometry to this to replicate what's on the front. We've already looked at how we can use revolve. We've looked at how we could use the boundary fill. We can also simply create another extrude. So in this case, we added 2 millimeters to the back of the housing, which was already 3 millimeters thick. Now remember, this back piece is still solid. We haven't removed all the inside from it yet. But what we can do now is we can create an extrude on the back of this face by creating a new sketch. And we're going to use C on the keyboard to create that ID. Now, if we want to create some sort of parametric link, we can also project the edge by using P on the keyboard to simply project the edge of the front cover to the back, and then we can use delete to remove this. If we rotate it around, you can see that it automatically brings us in, and we have these different regions that we can select that will allow us to create an additional extrude. So we're going to finish the sketch, and then we're going to create a solid extrude, and this is going to be our housing thickness. We're going to join it, but again, we have to be careful with multiple solid bodies. So we're going to say join, make sure that we still have front housing and front cover as separate solid bodies, and we've added that information to the back housing. At this point, we can use some additional tools to remove materials, such as the shell feature, or we can create another extrude cut. There are many different ways that we can go about this. But for right now, the main focus was just exploring the boundary fill feature and how it differs in terms of its input in creating that solid geometry. We're going to remove the two surface bodies from this file by holding down the Shift or Control key and selecting them. We're going to right click and we're going to select Remove. Using remove instead of delete is important because remove adds a feature in the timeline, while delete will remove those features as well as any sketches that were used to create them. For right now, let's bring back all of our solid bodies. Let's minimize our construction and sketch folder, and let's minimize our origins folder, just showing the bodies on the screen. Go back to a home view, and let's save this file before we move on.